All right, so I'll just set this up. This will take like a 30-second setup. So Rory did give me permission to share with you and actually record from behind the scenes our recording what will be 3 podcast episodes in less than an hour. Now, this is unfiltered, this is uncut. I'm not going to edit this, but I wanted you to see someone who's doing exactly what it is you want to do, recording podcasts, getting that message out, getting that word out. And normally to record 3 podcast episodes, we'd be looking at an hour each. That'd be 3 hours plus the scheduling time, plus the setup time. I'm going to be his guest first on 2 of his podcasts, and then he's going to be my guest on a third, and you get to be a fly on the wall. So I am ready, Rory. I'm in position. I'm good to go. I think they'll be able to hear me in my recording just fine, but you got good audio on me right now, correct?
Yeah.
Very
I
good.
do.
Now,
Could be a little higher. But
well, let me turn up a little bit higher for you. Well, first I'm going to check, and this is where most of the time it comes into play is under audio settings. Yeah, look at that. Zoom has me brought down a little bit. How's that? Is that better?
That's better.
Yeah, Zoom automatically brought me down. That's no good. But instead of raising my microphone up, which could cause some clipping or mechanical sound here, I was able to do it right in Zoom. So Rory, I am all yours, my man.
Okay. All right. Can you turn it down just a little bit? Just to keep
Yeah, I actually wanted to anyway. How's that? Is that better right there?
That's a little bit.
Perfect.
All right. Here we go. Okay. I'm just checking, make sure I had the right buttons. Okay. All right. Here we go. All right. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Success Tracks, where we explore that elusive thing that we call success. And we try to analyze it and see how people are achieving it. As you know, most people don't achieve the pinnacle of success in their fields, but some do. And those that do have some secrets and some things that work for them. And in this episode, I am pleased to welcome Don. I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher this. Pikula.
You got really close.
I got very close. Okay. All right. Don is a very successful entrepreneur, and he's the owner of Golden Goose Studios. And I was fortunate enough to meet him here recently, and he's going to talk to us about his journey in success to success in his business. And so I welcome you, Don, and I'm going to continue just calling you Don, if that's okay with you.
That's perfect, Rory. All good, man. Good to
All
see you.
right. Yeah. Oh, good. Well, I know that you have a very successful business, and I know quite a bit about it, but I'm going to let you just start talking about. I don't know where you want to start, but go ahead and give us a little bit about your success journey.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll start with what it is that we do now. I mean, they're watching you make a podcast that looks like it's professionally produced, but Rory, you're just at your desk in your home, right?
I am in my desk. Yes.
Yeah, sitting in your desk at your home, and yet you have these elements on the screen, these logos. You're bringing me. We're not in the same place. We just had to schedule on Zoom. We're using video conferencing to connect, and it looks professional. And you're getting your name out there, you're getting your broadcast out there, and that's what we do for other people. But I'll tell you, one of the first things I learned about success is that rarely do you find it on the first try. I'll also say rarely do you actually find it. What I mean by that is it doesn't feel like success while you're doing it. And it sometimes doesn't feel like success once you're completed it because you're never really done. So I'm going to go back and talk for a minute more about failures than success. In fact, one thing that I've learned is that I tried a whole bunch of stuff, had a whole bunch of ideas, did a whole bunch of courses and products and websites and brands, and most of them failed. Most of them failed. And you know that they failed in the corporate world, they failed in the entrepreneur world, they failed for individuals, they failed in B2B sales. I failed everywhere, long before I ever had any glimpse of success. And Rory, I think that's one thing we have to be prepared for, is all those failures that people don't see, that we have to go through, and that actually can either bring us down, make us quit, drop us out of the race almost completely. It's about the ability to keep going and knowing and trusting that the right thing will show up at the right time when you're ready for it. Some people have this idea of success, and just because it doesn't match the vision that they had in their mind, they completely miss the path that they were supposed to be on.
Well, I totally agree with that. And what I find in doing these interviews is that there's a lot of failure that goes along goes on with it. But I also hear people say, like I know I've told my son is, if you fail, you learn something from it. So you have to ask yourself, well, what did I learn? Because if you didn't learn anything, then you've just got an expensive lesson. And so go ahead and walk us through the path that it took to get you to where you are
Mhm.
now today. Because I know you had, like you said, you did a lot of different things, and I know quite a few of them. But just give us a little taste of what that was like.
Yeah, well, I mean, I came from B2B sales, corporate sales. I actually sold food. So, when you look at restaurants, hotels, and clubs and grocery stores and all these different outlets for food, well, those were our clients, those were our customers. And, it was one of those things that it's a very tough competitive world. I mean, you're dealing with a product that is either dying or decaying or rotting, and you have to try to get it to people in the most pristine condition possible. But you're talking about something that there's hiccups, there's issues, there's out of stocks and mispicks and damage and timelines and timeframes, and on top of all that, the profit margins are extremely fine. In fact, in a lot of cases, you can lose out on a sale simply based on pennies. So, that was a very high pressure. That was very interactive in terms of it was transactional. You still were trying to develop relationships and help business succeed, but it was not exactly what you would, want to spend a lot of time if you didn't have that kind of skill. So I had to early on develop a sales skill. I had to learn how to handle objections, how to handle rejection, how to really get to decision makers and actually make a case for things that may have been a little more expensive, that may have cost a little more, but ultimately would have been better for their business. And so in that environment is where I really started to learn how to differentiate. And through that process, I quickly, probably, and some may argue a little too quickly, got into management. And I'll tell you, when you're picking leaders for your company, particularly that first round of leaders, I would kind of agree with Steve Jobs. He said that the best managers you can find are the top producers that don't want to become leaders, but because no one else would do it the way they did, they stepped up and did it. But most of the time, the only thing a company is going to get is, as a guarantee in that, is they're going to lose a high-producing individual performer, and they're not guaranteed to get a very good manager. In fact, if you don't train and you don't study and you don't develop that skill, you're going to be a liability to the company. And so I had to learn quickly that no matter how well-intentioned the company is, leadership and training and development and management skills aren't exactly taught. And whatever you're learning in college and MBAs, that's all great, but that's a lot of theory, and it's a lot of textbook, and it's not a lot of practical application. It's not a lot of actual dealing with it under fire day to day. And so through that process, I had to realize something, that I could no longer produce the results by myself. And I was no longer measured by my individual contribution, but by the contribution of a team. So making them better became what I had to do in order to be successful myself. And in doing that, you can't just focus on the people struggling. You also had to go spend time with the people who were a success, people who didn't need to spend time with you, but who could also see the team selling idea and bring relationships around the client's success. So that's all in the corporate world. And then going through that, I ended up in a seminar industry in the middle of a pandemic. Well, a second pandemic. We got through the first pandemic. In my state, we were shut down again. And in between those two, I had started a seminar company. And in that, we were doing events we couldn't put more than 20 people in a room. That included myself and my wife at the time. So think about it. We could put like 16 or 17 people in a room. And man, I was breaking even, but that was about it. And it wasn't until I really found the right mentors in my life and invested in their training, because I wanted to do what they were doing. That was a big lift for me. Find someone who was doing what I wanted to do, invest in their products and solutions, invest in the way that they were currently doing it, not something they had done 10 years ago, but something they were doing now and in the moment. And it was through implementing the moves they showed me that I actually got up off the ground and started to be able to really turn a business that was really shouldn't have been doing any revenue, was barely doing any profit, into something that now supports me and my family on a level that I never thought possible.
Well, I know some of the people that I have interviewed. Actually, COVID turned out to be a good thing. So, and actually, I'm one of those where I, because of COVID and some other issues, I changed my life around and brought me to this. And but now the systems that you're using to do what we're doing right now, those weren't exactly the first things that you tried out, were they? Didn't you try out addition, other other type of technology,
Oh
and
yeah.
then you found out what worked and what didn't work, and what was easier, and all that. I don't want to put words in your mouth. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, Rory. Again, all through trial and error, right? I mean, there were
Right.
systems out there that you could spend some big money on, and whenever someone wanted to look better on camera, whether it be for Zoom or Teams, they want to do videos or workshops or seminar. We call them webinars now, I suppose. But they said go buy an expensive camera. You got to go buy a $2,000 or $3,000 camera, put a $2,000 or $3,000 lens on it. You better get the nice lights. You better get the big umbrella lights that are all diffused, and those are a couple $100 a piece. And put everything together. And man, when I used to try to make a video, I had an entire room of my house dedicated to this thing. The green screen was pulled taut. I had 6 lights on the green screen, 6 lights on me. You know what it's like, right? And by the time I got all set up, I was a mess. I was tired. I was sweaty. I was frustrated. I'd go change and come back. The room would be 85 degrees, and then I'd go film a video. I was trying to make 2-minute videos, man, and it would take me 4 hours. Add a couple meltdowns in there, and some days I wouldn't even get a video done. But that was the struggle part. But I had to work through that, and then I found some solutions that were even easier and even better. But the problem was they weren't really adapted for me. See, I found things that streamers were using and gamers were using, and some YouTubers, but it wasn't there for speakers and coaches. And the mentor I was working with, we had looked at, he had been using Vimix before, and some, there's dozens and dozens of broadcasting systems. He had found something that was free. And I got nothing to hide. It's OBS. And a lot of people, if you know what OBS is, some people have heard of it, and some people have no idea what I'm talking about. But there's a lot of people then who've heard of it and say, oh, yeah, I tried that. I gave up. I couldn't figure it out. But we had actually put together the program where we figured it out. And we solved that. And if you would have told me even just 3 or 4 years ago that you'd be building virtual studios and putting them in people's homes and offices, and you'd be using this free software, and they could use their current laptop or desktop, and it didn't matter whether it was on a Mac or a PC, and they'd buy a couple $100 webcam instead of a couple $1,000 camera, and they'd look professional, like they had a professional team producing them, I'd say, nah, that's not me. I'm not technical enough. I'm not good enough at computers. I don't write code. I don't do software. That's not me. But it all came together at just the right time where I started using this with my clientele, and they actually were asking me, well, I know we're on Zoom or we're on Teams or on Google Meet, but what type of software are you using here? Because they hadn't seen anything like this before. So that's when I started helping people do this. And so again, this wasn't my main thing. This isn't what I set out to do. This wasn't the goal of the plan. But I firmly believe you commit to something and you put your heart and your soul and your energy into that thing. If it's the wrong thing, the right thing will show up.
Well, would you mind if I gave you a little bit of a testimonial?
Go for it, Rory, of course.
This is my 40th year in the video production business. So I was one of those VMix people. I spent a fortune, and I had a studio. I had a huge studio with big green screen walls and floor and everything, and lighting in the 3 cameras and the whole 9 yards. And then COVID hit, and of course, right after I upgraded to 4K. so great timing. Anyway, so COVID hit, and I ended up losing my employees. We were shut down for 2 years. I ended up moving my company back. And so one of my goals, as I was refiguring out my life, one of my goals was to downsize the company and a bit, and to do it where I could do it from home. And I don't have a room for a big studio like I had. So I thought, well, vMix, when I had vMix, but maybe I could tailor that. But I can tell you, trying to work vMix and talk to somebody is not easy to do. And you look like you're trying to work vMix. That's what you end up doing. So I saw your thing, your sales thing. I think it's on Facebook. I saw a thing, and it was intriguing. And I'm one that I find, if I find something that works or it looks good or it's doing what I want to do, I don't mind investing in something if it's going to get me where I want to go.
Yep.
And so I sat through your thing skeptically, sat through your event thinking this is a lot more complicated than he's making it sound initially. And then you pulled back the curtain and showed the stream deck, and you showed, the software, and this is what we're doing, and this is how we're doing it, and all. And I'm thinking the whole time, I could do that. I can do that. And it'll take some time to get as smooth as he is at it, but I can do it. And I can say that everything that you promised in that is actually true. Everything that you said, and it's as easy as you said as far as doing it and making it work. But it also, you all backed it up with Zach was in here and helping me with software settings and things if I needed it, or if I got a question, I can email him and bam, I got help. You've helped. So it's been a real good effort and a real good experience. And that's why I ask you on, because I'd like to see you continue to succeed. I think you got a great product.
I appreciate that, Rory. And it's such a pleasure having people like you come on into our community, because you're a pro. I mean, you had all the equipment, you got all the years of experience. And part of me, when someone like you comes into the program, whether it's because you got the technical ability or you just understand computers or the industry, I'm always like, why are they investing in this? I mean, they already have all the stuff. But Rory, isn't it nice just to be able to sit down, turn on your computer, check a couple of things, and just start, like you said, hosting by yourself? I mean, there's a lot of programs out there that if you have a producer or someone to push the buttons behind the scenes, then you're good to go. But Rory, you're doing all this solely by yourself.
Right. And I had a person that was running audio with the guest and myself and things. I had another person that was on a TriCaster switcher, and then we went to vMix and we were using vMix. And so it was a team effort to get the things done.
Yep.
With this, I couldn't do it. I don't have the people anymore,
Yep.
and I don't have the space. I don't have the equipment. But I saw this as an answer to do what I want to do, and so that's what that's what I'm doing. I don't mind going to people who have done what I am trying to do. If
Bingo.
they've done it, it means it can be done, and if they can do it, I can do it. And in this case, you're showing us how to do it. So
Bingo.
I mean, that's great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, appreciate that, Rory. And I said it's a pleasure having you on. And again, this is, I tell people in that challenge that this is not about a profit center for me in the challenge. It's about getting you out there so that people see the way you're doing it. You're my proof. There's nothing I can do at any level that'll be, I don't care whether it's Facebook advertising, YouTube, LinkedIn, I don't care what, there's nothing more powerful than having clients of ours be able to do what you're doing, and then speak to the fact that, well, at first I thought this couldn't be done. I thought there was a catch this. I thought this would take too much effort, or maybe he had a team back there. But Rory, you're proof this works.
well, let me ask you, what's ahead for Golden Goose Studio? And may I say, that is a great name. I love the name. But what's ahead for you here in the future? You're having such great success. I'd say pretty quickly,
Yeah.
coming from COVID times. So,
Well, listen, we've had our fair share of distractions too. I mean, what's in it for us now is simplifying. That's what's coming up. Simplifying the process so that everything that we do is not just repeatable, but we're trying to remove the variables. Early on, we thought, well, let's make anything work. Let's make any computer and any camera and any microphone and let's make anything work. And what we figured out is people want to invest in a solution where it is turnkey. I mean, all I'm doing right here, I'm on a standing desk. I got 3 monitors. which I don't even need. I got a camera that I'm looking at. I got a microphone and a mixer, which I also don't need. Rory, this is something that we can ship out a backpack already programmed if they want to be mobile, or we would ship the standing desk with all the equipment, show them exactly how to plug it in. What's the future for us is making this simple.
Okay. Do you have if there's two things that led to this success that you've had, two things that you could give somebody that's, whether it's, I mean, not people trying to do your business or even trying to be in this type of business, but any business.
Yeah.
Is there two main things in business that you think are keys to success that you would like to leave us with?
Yeah, I tell you, number one, invest. Just like you said, Rory, invest in not just general education, but specialized education. Invest in the people that are currently doing what you want to do, whether that's the way you're presenting, what's the way you're selling, whether it's your mindset, whether it's your goals, whether it's whatever it is. Find people that are where you want to be, invest in them, pay them for their time, and then implement what they tell you. I mean, that's number one. Number two, I would say you have to eliminate the distractions. There's 100 shiny objects that are going to come at you and try to take you different directions. But if you try to chase two rabbits, you catch none. Stick with the one thing. Don't give up on it. And just trust. Just trust that if you really are fully committed to something that's wrong for you, wrong for your business, that the right thing will show up and you'll know about it. But that can't be an everyday occurrence. You gotta focus on what you can do each day and stop worrying about where you might be a year or 5 years from now.
Okay, well, I really appreciate you being on Success Tracks today, and I will have your contact information at the on the post and at the end of this video. And so, and again, anybody that's interested in doing what you're seeing here and maybe even doing it better. I'm new at this, but anyway, I recommend that you contact Don and at Golden Goose, and I'm sure he can help you out.
Yeah, Rory, are you okay if I give your audience a little gift? Is that okay?
Sure.
So I got a book, and I mean I got a couple of books, but let me tell you something. When you write a real book, like nobody reads this thing. This is 143 pages, and man, I mean I could tell you maybe a dozen people read it. Then I got this book that's like a kid's coloring book, man. I mean this thing is like simple, it's big pictures, but it's also interactive, has videos. This book will take them through every step that they need to get their studio, get their image, get their online presentation up to the next level. And if they'll go to the website, goldengoosestudios.com, what they'll find is on top here will be a section where if they put in their name and email, they can have that either the training or invest in that book to take it to the next level. That's the training's free. The book costs like 20 or 30 bucks. It's nothing big, but it is the answers that you may be looking for right now.
Well, then I would highly recommend that they check that out because, like I said, everything I've gotten from you through this whole program has been exactly what you said. Nothing was false advertising or bait and switch. It was exactly what you need, exactly what works, and I've been very impressed. So thank you so much for joining us, Don.
Thank you, Roy.
Okay, so thank you for joining us. And if you have a story to tell and you'd like to be featured on Success Tracks as our guest, you can go to successtracks.com or you can call us at 757-271-8687. And we look forward to talking to you and featuring your success journey. And with that, we're out. Okay, so now we're going to do one called Newsmakers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to have to adjust you here just a second. And this is just a promo for your business.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Oh, here I can move myself a little bit. Make it a little easier on you. There you
go. Okay. All right. Okay. So now let me check this one. That's okay. And check this one. Yes. Okay. So, where's my tall boxes? A second. That's not it. That's the long boxes. Oh, tall boxes. There you go. All right, that's good. Okay, so the one I'm going to use, I need is guest only box. That one. Okay. All righty. So, all right, are you ready to go with this?
I'm ready.
Okay, I'm not going to use a second camera. I'm going to wing it because I haven't got the scene set up for that yet.
All good.
It's all good. Okay. All right. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Newsmakers. My name is Rory Graham, and I'm your host. And today we have the pleasure of having with us Don Pikula.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. How about that? Okay, Don Pikula from Golden Goose Studios. And he's a successful entrepreneur, and it's a business you may not you may be familiar with when you see it, but you probably don't know what the business is. So I'd let him tell you all about it, and it's quite interesting. So welcome, Don. How are you?
Good to see you.
And so let me start with a overview, and I need to hit the right button. There you go. All right. Okay. So let's just start with me saying, welcome, Don. I would like you to start by giving us an overview of your business, what you do, and who it's for.
Well, that's actually the easy part, because right now you're using it. You're using the end result of your own television studio. But Roy, even though you have all the equipment, you've upgraded to 4K, you had the techs and the team, and I mean, you still have a real studio. Right now, you're just at your desk in your house, pushing a few buttons on a regular computer with a camera that doesn't cost thousands of dollars. In fact, it might cost a couple hundred, and yet you look professional. Right now, you're just switching scenes, you're pushing buttons, everything for your show, whether it's any of your podcasts, any of your marketing, any of your videos, or things that you're working with people one-on-many or one-on-one, you look like a pro. And that's the result we deliver. And so it's so cool we can hop on with someone who's implemented and using our processes for their business's benefit and to reach a wider audience.
Yeah, because through this, of course, we're using Zoom technology too, incorporated with all these things. But through that, you're able to reach anybody anywhere in the world. So it just opens up the market tremendously, and so it allows you to do something by yourself. If you're a one-man band like I am now, I did have a bunch of employees, but after COVID, I didn't. So I'm down to one-man band, and I'm literally sitting here with 3 monitors and computer and 2 lights, 2 little lights, and one other light, and that's it. It's amazing that the what we're able to do nowadays, and I think what I learned from your program or was reinforced in your program is you got to embrace technology where you can.
Yep.
So and you I'm assuming that why don't you tell us about the technology part of this, because I think if anybody's looking at this, they're going, wow, you got to have all this stuff. He had it, or what. I'm not using anything I had. The only thing I'm using that I had is a computer.
Yep.
Okay, so everything else is just from your program, and so tell us about the technology part, because I think that's what people will find most scary.
Well, scary, and actually it upsets some people. It upsets some professionals because, Rory, the technology is free. It doesn't cost anything. And yes, there are solutions out there that do cost money. Some that are, $3, $4, $500 a year. Some that are $3, $4, $5,000 a year. Some other solutions are go buy $20, $30, $40,000 worth of equipment, or the people I've met who have a studio in their office or a studio in their home have spent $80,000 to $100,000 or more. But here's where I catch a lot of slack from professionals is they see what we're doing. They're like, well, you're just ordering a few things off of Amazon and like connecting them via USB to a computer and like using the software. It's not fair. It's not right that you can look this way. You're supposed to have to earn your studio, earn your presentation, hire the team, pay the bill, right? But it's not always about how much you make, sometimes about how much you get to keep. And so if you're doing anything with events or you're doing Zoom meetings, Teams, Google Meet, or any of the other video conferencing platforms or YouTube or any social media outreach out there, the way you look at the first point of contact is critical. In fact, you're being judged at the first second, whether you like it or not. So instead of showing up like most people do on Zoom, where maybe they're doing a side-by-side or they're sharing their screen, narrating a PowerPoint, you have the ability to do what Rory's doing here by himself, and all he's doing is just pushing a few simple buttons to change these scenes. Rory, I mean, you're using a Stream Deck that looks just like this that's programmed for 3 or 4 seats. Like, well, that's what I mean, right? Pros are not happy with this, are they?
Well, I don't know. I haven't talked to any pros about what I'm doing. But I can tell you, as someone you would call a pro, I've been in this 40 years this year. It's about not always about having the latest and greatest technology. It's about what works.
Yeah.
And if you can't get it to work, or it isn't serving you, then you can have the greatest thing in the world. And I do. I've got 4K cameras in there, using them, and I can tell you that a lot of the technology, it just, technology keeps moving forward. And this has not only it's like, it reminds me of the iPhone. When I had a business partner who talked me into getting a phone one time with a keyboard on it, all that kind of stuff. I never used that thing. I mean, I might make a phone call on it once in a while, but that was it. And when iPhone 1 came out, he called me and said, "You got to go down to AT&T and see this thing." And I said, I'm not interested. I still got this other piece of junk that he said, "Go see it. You'll love it. It's so simple that you'll use it. It works." And I went down to AT&T. I played with the thing and bought it.
Yep.
And that's the thing of beauty of the iPhone. They made it so simple that people will actually use it, and they do. And that's what this does. It makes it so simple that you'll actually use it, and it works. It doesn't need to cost thousands and thousands of dollars, in my opinion. So anyway, and I hope to be getting better and better at this. This is, fairly new with this technology.
And it looks nice. I mean, this is so cool. You're able to produce multiple broadcasts. I mean, this isn't just one thing you're doing. You're using this in multiple platforms, getting your message out. And we're doing in an hour what takes people sometimes 3 and 4 hours to do, not including setup time, prep time, and test time. I mean, this is something that's always available for you. Whenever you have the idea, the inspiration, the motivation, you sit down in front of your computer, you power it on, you hit record, you look like a pro.
Yeah. And you can use this technology too, as you've told us in the training, that you can use this to record courses or record other posts and things that you want. You don't have to be in a meeting, right, with someone. So it's got a lot of different uses that you can do with it. But so I'm a big fan, obviously. And so do you see this with the current political season going on, and the way the economy is and all? Do you see this do you see this being being impacted positively or negatively?
Well,
I see it
yeah,
positive myself.
yeah. Well, I'll tell you, it's the media, the idea of media has changed. I mean,
Okay,
we
got
have
that
more
right.
power now. I'm talking as broadcasters, right? I am the furthest thing from a broadcast professional. I never worked in a television studio. I wasn't on air. I haven't done this for decades. You've done it for a while. But we have more ability to reach an audience or a group of people now than we ever have. And part of that shift was it shifted from the big screen to the television screen to the phone screen. So what we're doing now can be received by millions of people, and that's just in this country. I mean, tens of millions of people, hundreds of millions of people around the world who,
Right.
as long as you can connect in 9 or 10 seconds and they know why they're watching, they will watch for hours. And it's that very first point of contact where when you show up and you look professional and you speak to their heart in that very first moment, then you can actually deliver and transfer what you're trying to do. So many people talk about their product, they talk about their support, they talk about their service way too early. All we need to do is just connect with people first. Connect, then you can transfer knowledge, transfer technique, transfer skill, and then it'll be received and converted and invested in. So, I mean, Roy, from that standpoint, is it going to be affected? I think it's going to be affected positively. In fact, I would urge anyone who's been through it like I have to never be caught one-dimensional again. Meaning if right now your business is, we're just old school, we're all in person, we're all back in person, well, you need to add the virtual element. And if you're all virtual, you should also embrace the in-person, because this is something you can use before, during, and after in-person meetings, events, seminars, webinars. It doesn't matter. You got to be able to operate in both environments. The rug has been pulled out from us before, sometimes financially, sometimes with a health crisis. The rug's been pulled out from under you. The only thing I promise you, it will be pulled out from under you again in some way, shape, or form. You need to be prepared.
Right. And I guess when I was thinking about that, my feeling is that the broadcast media is kind of stagnated. They're losing viewership and things, and the podcast media is growing tremendously, and more people are able to get their message out because of technology like this, and we need that. So anyway, I think it's going to be a positive thing for your business, and hopefully for mine.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
well, thank you for being here today and to tell us all about Golden Goose Studios. And it is studios, right?
Yeah, Golden
Because
Goose Studios. Yep.
okay, all right, because some of the emails say services and some of the emails
Yep.
say studio.
Yep.
That's why I'm asking.
That's one little area I need to clean up, because what's happened is, Golden Goose Services was the name of the initial company, and there was corporate development, leadership training, sales
I
training, goal
see.
setting. All of that was the initial company. And one thing that I've really believed is once you focus on something and you commit to it, if it's wrong, the right thing will show up. And that's what happened to us. The right thing showed up in terms of studios. So it's all under the same family. And this is the company now. This is the product. This is the focus. But it was something that I never planned on. It wasn't the goal 5 years ago. I wasn't even aware of it 3 years ago. It has come together, I would say, by an intelligent design, way more powerful than I am.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you a little story about that later. Okay. Well, I again, I am a user and a fan, and I think you got a great product, and you certainly are a man of your word. You deliver exactly what you say you're going to do. All right. So
Awesome. Thank
thank
you.
you for joining us. All right. If you would like to feature your business on Newsmakers, um, please contact us at the information at the end of this video, and we're glad to talk to you about it. And with that, I'm out. I put their contact information on there as well, and I shorten that down in
Perfect.
post production
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
just
Well,
to
well
let you
done,
know,
man. Well done.
because I know that's on. All right. So is this what you want as far as a picture from me for your
Yeah,
interview?
that's perfect. Perfect, perfect. And all I'm gonna do is just, so we've now done Rory's two shows, his the one on success and the one on news. Rory, those are beautifully set up. Well done, by the way. Very cool. So now in the transition, now I'm going to interview him. So, and all that happened is now, he was using OBS. Now I'm going to use OBS. Same kind of setup. But I was the guest. So as a guest, I don't do a lot of screen moving around. I let the host do that. So as you're pairing up and having the accountability of doing these sessions, let the host be the one that kind of moves the screen around, and then now Rory's going to be here, and he can move the screen. I may ask him to show me a scene or two. He'll be prepared for it if he needs to, but that way you get to be the guest and the host during the same session. That's why I'm recording this. That's why I wanted you to see. That's critical. So all I'm going to do, Rory, is I'm going to go to a interview scene. I'm going to change the name so that it's not that. It needs to be, let me bring up the Zoom. Here it is. I just adjusted this. It's not going to be Robert Marshall. It's going to be Rory Graham. Any letters in front or behind your name?
I had thought about putting DMA, which means doesn't mean anything, but I decided no letters.
I love it. I love it.
I had somebody tell me that at a meeting one time. I asked him what on his card it said DMA, and asked him what that stood for. He said doesn't mean anything.
That's perfect. What would I say that you're an expert in? Is it the audio visual? Is it the studio? Or do you want to focus primarily on some of your transitioning services?
I guess we could just say I'm a video producer, or we could just say I'm an entrepreneur. I guess I don't know.
Entrepreneur, and I may have to spell check that. Entrepreneur, video producer. Let me just get my Google up here so I can get that. I can never spell entrepreneur right. I mean, you could ask me 100 times, I'm going to spell it differently each time. So E.
You're not the only one.
Yeah. ENTREPRE.
Thank God for spell check.
UR. Entrepreneur. And I'm going to change the color of that to something lighter that'll show up on that background. Just like that. Perfect.
Now tell your viewers that they're now going to see a pro working this thing. You're going to show me up.
No, I ain't going to show you up. This is really cool. All I'm going to do, I'm going to do the little intro, and then I'll bring you right in.
Okay.
I'm recording. Always make sure you're recording. Always make sure you're recording. And by the way, we're also recording in Zoom. So Zoom's our backup. If we need any audio or need any filler audio or something dies or didn't catch right, we have a backup. But we're also recording primary in OBS. So make sure you're recording and you're set to go. Okay, I'll play the intro and then I'll bring you in. Hey, Don Pikula here, and today on Air, I have a guest that has decades worth of audio visual experience, owning his own studios, someone who had invested all the way up through 4K cameras and is still doing this professionally, even after a pandemic took a lot away. So as an inspiration for someone who can continue in an expertise that they dedicated their life to and transition into something for the future, not just stuck in their circumstances, but making their own way, I want to introduce to you Mr. Rory Graham. Rory, thanks for being here. It's great to see you, sir.
Oh, well, thanks for having me, Don.
Question right off the bat. This is turbulent times. I mean, as we're filming this right now, there's an impending election, there's inflation, there's Homes are hard to buy. There's possibly World War III. I'm giving you all these things going on right now for context. It can get really distracting and really confusing. But what's something that you're seeing right now that those that you help, those that you interact with, need to be thinking about, or what has shifted their mindset?
Well, I think people are focused on initially are focused on the economy and things like that, and they're fearful as to because they don't know what's going to happen. And I think a lot of them are just being inundated with news, negative news from every source, from whether it's the TV or whatever. And events like we're seeing affect all of us in many different ways. It depends on, I guess, your mindset. A few years ago, I would be right in there. I would be watching the news every night, and I would be, really into it. And it's not that I'm not an ostrich. I don't have my head in the ground. I do know what's going on. I keep up with what's happening, but I turned off the news. I haven't watched the news, just regular news programs in for the most part about 2 years. And the reason is because as a video producer, I realized, and this is probably not where you want me to go, but you can cut this. But as a video producer, I realized that the news that you're watching, no matter where you're getting it, is manipulation. It is the producer's story that he sends the people out, gets the thing, and gets the footage, comes back and edits it into the view that he wants you to have. I've been to events and then watched the event on TV, and you wouldn't even know it was the same event. It just depends on the slant that they want to give it. It depends on what the producer's view is. So I don't mind being manipulated by Steven Spielberg to believe for a few minutes that there are dinosaurs. I do mind being manipulated by CNN or MSNBC or Fox News or whoever it is into trying to convince me what to think. I would rather be presented the facts and make a choice. So because I think what they do is they're trying to sow division and fear, and that is impacting everybody. And I that's I don't know that that's what you
No, Rory,
were.
that's perfect. That's exactly where I actually hoped you would go, because you're actually a news maker. You stopped watching the news because you realize you have the power, not just as an entrepreneur and a video producer and someone who's been in audio visual and in this media for decades. You're now becoming your own media company, and you're sharing the message that you want to share, that you know will help people, particularly who've been through some of what you've been through, and people who can relate to you or relate to me. Um, yeah, I would tell you that the television itself doesn't have very much for you, but the great thing that people have the ability now is to turn on their camera, produce some video, produce content that can really help people, not scare them, not manipulate them, not tilt or slant, but actually help people. And
Right.
that's what you're doing now.
Yeah, and through the use of this technology that you helped me acquire, and I was doing something kind of similar to this, but on a larger scale. I had a studio, I had 3 cameras, I had a crew. We were doing something called Hampton Roads Business Live. We did almost 400 episodes of it, and we were with local businesses and everything. It's really nicely done. It looked good. It sounded good, and it gave businesses a chance to promote themselves. And all that went away with COVID. But this has given me an opportunity to do something that I've wanted to do. Number one, I have 2 podcasts. One of them is they're just starting out. They will be online as of mid-November, no, mid-October. Um, one of them is Newsmakers, which is very similar to Hampton Roads Business Live, except I don't need to stick with Hampton Roads. I can do it anywhere in the world with
Right.
this thing. And I can do it by myself. And I can do it from this bedroom that I'm sitting in. And I can do it with minimal equipment, and I can control it by myself. Because I don't have a crew anymore. The other one is called Success Tracks, and it interviews people that are successful, and they're successful in marketing or sales or business or relationships or whatever. And we analyze that success as to what do they think was the deciding things that made them successful or helped them. What were the keys to that success? Because so many people get in business and they fail. And then the ones that are do make it the first year, in 5 years, almost all of those fail. About 10% survive. So it's not an easy game. And more people are dissatisfied. More and more people are looking for something. And now through technology and all, we have the power to speak, and we need to use it, I think. And this technology can help us speak when everybody's shutting us down. You saw that, like during the pandemic, you were prohibited basically from posting things on certain things on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Google. I mean, they shut you down and you'd end up, out as an outcast. This gives you a platform. And these platforms of podcasts, I've studied what's going on, and what's going on is podcasts are just increasing like crazy. And the broadcast media has not just leveled off, they're losing viewership because people don't trust them anymore. They're starting to wise up and realize that they are being manipulated. And anyway, I don't need to get on my soapbox.
No, listen, that's why I wanted to have you on. I mean, you've seen this. You've been in this industry for decades. What you're saying is being confirmed, and it's proven. And even if it wasn't, I don't want people to look at this and think that they can't get a message out. I know they have a message. You know they have a message. Most people just won't take the steps to get it out. They don't think they can afford it. They think it's going to cost a lot of money. They think nobody cares. But Rory, I mean, you doing these videos. You've done videos for businesses, for people, for individuals. It's not easy necessarily to tell the story through video. Sometimes some clients you've worked with, it may be like pulling teeth sometimes to get them through the story. But the end result's beautiful, isn't it? I mean, can't we tell a great story and shine light on positive things too?
Well, I that's what I like to do, and I think that can be very inspirational. That's what Success Tracks is all about, and giving people the opportunity to promote their business helps them too. I'm a believer that when you give, it comes back to you at least 5 times over. Maybe not from the same source, but it comes back to you,
Yep.
and that's always been the case throughout the 40 years in business that I've had. So I'm trying to do that. I restarted my life after I lost my wife. I went through a real tough time there for about a year and a half. I lost my wife, my brother, my father, and my business.
Wow.
And it's not to say poor me, but I was pretty devastated. And I took a year and re-examine my life and what I was doing and what I was going to do and restart everything. And so I've become a writer. I have 4 books out there now. I'm working on a 5th. I have started the 2 podcasts. I still have my video company where I do websites and things, and all, but I've downsized that. I'm no longer beating the bushes out there for big jobs and things because I just don't. That's my heart in it isn't in it anymore. And So I've determined that I'm going to help as many people as I can as long as I'm here. And so that's what the books do. And that's what these 2 podcasts do. And I am really glad I found this technology because I didn't know how I was going to pull it off. I wanted to do it, but I just didn't have the people to do it, and I didn't have the space to do it because I'm back to my home. I lost my 2,000 square foot studio. So anyway, that's what this has enabled me to answer that part of what I'm doing, and so I'm very thankful that I happen to see that ad on Facebook for your product.
Well, and let me take them just for a moment to your website. I have your website here. So, if they're looking at these books, I mean, you right now you got video production, and this is actually, I know we didn't talk about this, but format transfer services, Rory, there are so many people right now that they're on the verge of losing memories and history. I mean, what this man's doing, and then website design, Rory,
We do an
this is
awful lot of
incredible.
that, Don. We do an awful lot of it.
Incredible. So if you're okay with it, I'd like to put this link in the description of this video, and
Yeah.
then I'll take them also to see your books. They could. I picked one of these up the other day. It's on the way. I haven't received it yet, but or this is incredible, man. And you told me privately that you really dove into writing these books. These really came from your heart and soul, right? This wasn't I'll become an author to make money. This was I have something I got to get on paper.
No, no, the book, my first one, Did I Tell You I Love You Today? I started that about 3 weeks after my wife passed away. We'd been married 50 years, and she had Parkinson's for 23 of those years. So when she passed away, although I knew what was coming and she did too, it was pretty devastating. And I use the book as a way to cope with that. I don't drink, I don't do drugs, so I just wrote day and night basically, and I wrote and rewrote and rewrote and rewrote. Anyway, the story is about 95% true, and it is about actually us, my wife and myself, um, and about our life in 1980. And it has 12 life lessons in it that I wrote for my kids and my grandkids, and it's woven within the story. So it's not like a TED talk or a lesson or something that you've been boring. It would be something they hopefully they get from reading an adventure story. And so I wrote that. And when people read it, they suggested that I get it published. So I ended up getting it published. And then I wrote the caregivers one. As a caregiver, I had experience with that. So I wrote that one. And That's called Finding Light in the Darkness. And then through my research, trying to make myself happy, I had a lot of research on happiness and what makes you happy. So I followed it with that book, and then I compiled the Parkinson's book. Is actually a very clinical book. It's probably the harder one to read of them, because it is such a serious subject, and but I support a lot of Parkinson's organizations, and I'm very close to that. I had been a past president of the APDA, American Parkinson's Disease Association, and I work with Michael J. Fox Foundation and things like that. So it's a disease I'm very familiar with. So all of these things were made to help people, and the fifth book I'm working on is going to be the same way. But I'm still working on it, so it's kind of work in progress. So amongst all of that, I do the video stuff, and now I'm doing podcasting at the same time. So it keeps me off the streets. So
Absolutely, and you're starting to help people that have been in similar situations or will be going through what you went through. People who have a change, whether they asked for it or not, it happened to them in life, and that's really the only thing we can depend on, is that things will change. Not always for the better, but in the moment we really can't tell what's good and what's bad. It just is, and it's kind of the way we react and handle. And we're all here for a limited time, and it's finding our purpose. And I think that's something you're helping people do.
Well, I think that this whole time of reflection, that year after she passed away and everything, especially, and since that time, I have been restarting my life and everything, but I have a whole new appreciation for life, and I just look at every day as a gift. Every moment is a once in a lifetime moment. We're never going to get this again. You and I may do another podcast at some point, but not this one. So what we're doing right now, everything you do, I'm also a believer that everything you do matters. It matters in some way down the road. I mean, it's like dominoes, it's like the butterfly effect. And so I think we need to do as much good as we can do. And and for as long as we can, as long as we're given. And the other thing I learned, I think, is that I don't have all the answers, not the smartest guy in the room, but I don't need all the answers. I think there's a plan, my personal belief. There's a plan, and I guess I must be a part of it because I'm still here. So I'm trying to work my part of it to the best of
Spot
my.
on. Spot on. Well said, Rory. Well, it's rorygraham.com. We'll put the link in here. You'll see his other Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube here as well, which will be populated with multiple podcasts now. We're extremely proud of what you're doing. And I know there's people you're here to help. I think you summed it up perfectly. You're still here, so you're still something you're supposed to do. Is there anything you see coming up for you in the future? Anything we should be? They're going to check out your website, get a couple of the books. I got a couple on the way for me. But is there anything that you'd like to end with here? Anything maybe that they need to be aware of?
Well, I'll tell you what, we started asking about the state of things and how people feel and everything. Let me just give you something that works for me and has been working for a very long time for me, and I learned it from my wife. Um, as might feel depressed because of the situation, you might feel anxious or whatever. But when you're not feeling exactly happy about your life or about your situation and everything, one of the things that you can do is you can list 3 to 5 things. I happen to do 10 every day that you're grateful for. And if you do that, and there's certainly easily 10 things that you're grateful for. I mean, if you live in this country, you're in the top 2% of the people in the world. But if you are just grateful for the food, your home, your family, your wife, your whatever it is, your job, it's very difficult to be grateful and depressed at the same time. It's almost impossible. So it may not fix everything, but it will sure put you in a better frame of mind to handle whatever you encounter during the day. So I find that being grateful every day, started off with that, has been a real asset to making me feel better every day. And I learned that from my wife, who seriously had Parkinson's, for 23 years. And I, she was always happy. And I would ask occasionally, how do you feel like that? And one of the things she would do was say she was just grateful every day for several things that she would list. And then the other thing that she taught me was help other people. If you're helping people, it makes you feel great about yourself. So there you go.
I love it, Rory. Well, pick up the book. Did I tell you I love you today? rorygraham.com. Rory, thank you very much for the time with us. It was phenomenal to have you, and I'd love to have you back. There's no doubt about it, sir. Your wisdom today has been very well received and will be well received by the audience. There's no doubt about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Don. Appreciate it.
I'm going to add a different ending to that in post, but that's perfect. Perfect. So that was really it. I mean, it's not that much harder. You saw start to finish. Okay, so it was an hour and 13 minutes, but it probably took us, Rory, 5 or 10 minutes of, I was rendering some things on this computer and I wasn't quite ready. So, and I had to set this up. I needed permission first. Rory, thank you for allowing me to capture this. Is this something that you're okay with me sharing, the behind the scenes footage as well, how we did it?
Yeah, that's fine. Can I get this interview?
Of course you're getting this interview. I'll even give you this footage as well.
I like to put it on my
well,
page.
That's exactly right. I mean, go get the book, guys, and even you guys go get the book. Listen, this is someone who's doing exactly what you wanted to do, and you're seeing us do it in real time. This is not edited. I didn't cut anything out. 3 episodes done in an hour. 3 episodes done in an hour. This is. Rory, this is a hack, a shortcut in all the good ways of getting what we want done. Rory, thank you very much, man. It was great to see you.
And I'll just say, if anybody is interested in being on Success Tracks or the newsmakers, just contact me, and I'm glad to talk to you about that.
I will put this man's email in wherever I post this video. If I put it in the training in the portal, if I put it in the Facebook group, it's going for the current challenge. If I show it again in the future challenge, or absolutely put it in there, you'll want to do an interview with this man. His questions were incredible. His patience, his kindness, his wisdom, you can sense all that. And if you can do the same thing we did, you'll interview him as well. A great interview, very easy to talk to, and a great message for your audience, even if you're building one, even if you're starting from scratch on one. This is Rory. I mean, this is heartfelt. This is a big thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Take care, man.